Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Ashrafil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In today's Dars Hadith, in today's lesson in Hadith, we are going to be looking at a few ahadith from the chapter entitled in Arabic as Babul Hashr, which in English means the chapter regarding resurrection and gathering or being on the plane where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question us for what we have done in this world. Now, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we last had our Dars Hadith that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He decides that this is Day of Judgment, this is Qiyamah, so Hazrat Israfil alayhi salam would blow on the trumpet. So with the first blow on the trumpet, everyone who is alive at that time, and the hadiths we read before, only the evil people will be alive at that time, because prior to that all the neck banda, all the pious people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have taken their souls and their ruh away, so they would have passed away. So there would only be evil people living on this earth. There will only be bad people living in this world. There'll only be, say for example, people who may have Islamic names, who may have Muslim names like Abdullah, Abdul Rahman, but for short they may be known as AB or something like that. They will have these kind of names, but because there was no deen in them, they will remain until the very, very end. And Qiyamah will happen on these bad people, on these evil people. So that will be the first trumpet, the first blow of the trumpet. Then many, many years later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will order Hazrat Israfil alayhi salam to blow on the trumpet again. Then with the second blow on the trumpet, this time all those who were in the graves, those people who died on the earth, they will then be resurrected from the graves, and then they will slowly make their way towards the Maidan, the Hashr, the Mahshar, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question them. And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that people will come in three ways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There will be some people who will come by foot. There will be some people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respect them, will show them azmat, and they would be coming sitting on camels. We're going to look at a hadith later with regards to that. So they'll be sitting on camels, and isi tarah sawar hokar they will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there will be some people, may Allah forbid us from being from that category, the evil people, the bad people, they will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their face, i.e. their face would be like their feet, and they will be like walking upside down. Their face will be on the ground, and istara they will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punish them in this way is because, as you know, the face is the mawdi'u zina. It's the beautiful place out of all our limbs. It's the most respectable parts or limbs of our body. And that's why, as all of you know, that you're not allowed to hit someone on the face. Why? Because by hitting someone on the face, you are degrading him, you are humiliating him. If somebody was to hit you across the face, it is more humiliating to that person than if you were to hit him on the thighs, if you were to hit him on the chest. He'll feel really humiliated and degraded and disgraced if you gave him a good smack across the face. So the face is like the most beautiful part of the limb. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to humiliate that person, to degrade that person, what will happen is that he will come to Allah with his face on the ground, and he will be walking on the face, if that makes sense. You know, like his face will be like his feet, if that makes sense. And then he will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that particular way. And that is obviously punishment for the bad and the evil people. So what we're going to do in this today's lesson in hadith, we're just going to be looking at some hadiths which talks about Qiyamah, which talks about the Hashr and what would happen. Now the first hadith which we are going to read is a hadith which can be found in Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, narrated by the companion Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Innakum mahshurun hufatan uratan ghurlan," which means that all of you will be resurrected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hufatan nange per, i.e. barefooted, uratan nanga, i.e. naked, ghurlan bekhatna, i.e. uncircumcised. So every one of us in the hereafter will be resurrected, will be coming out of our graves. And how will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrect us in front of everyone? Will be resurrected hufatan, i.e. barefooted. So we won't be wearing our £80 Nike Air, any kind of like trainers, or our £50 Clark shoes. Will be barefooted. Uratan will be nanga, will be naked, stark naked. And ghurlan, we will also be uncircumcised as well. Which then takes me on to another part of the hadith, that once Hazrat Aisha Danha, she heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say this, that, "O Prophet of Allah, we're going to be, resurrected naked. Ar-rijalu wan-nisa jami'an yanzuru ba'duhum ila ba'd," which means that there'll be men and women looking at each other. How can that be? Where's the haya, where's the modesty, and so on. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied by saying, "Ya Aisha, O Aisha, al-amru ashaddu," which means that, the situation will be so severe that people will not be looking at, oh, this is that guy's private parts, or this is that person's private parts. No, people will not be thinking that way because of the situation they will be in. It's like, say, for example, when someone's pareshan, or something happened, a tragedy or accident happened. So sometimes you see like the women, they come out of the homes without parda. Now it's not because they're immoral or immodest, it's because something happened outside, they need to go quickly. Similarly, something may happen and then the man, he may be in his lungi or in his pajamas, he'll quickly come out of the house to see that what happened, or to go and try to sort something out. So why? Because the situation is such that people don't think of parda, people don't think of modesty or haya. So exactly here, people will be so much in trouble, they'll be so much in fikr, they'll be so much worried and in anxiety and in grief and in sorrow, that they will not be saying, oh, this is somebody's private parts here. They will not be saying this is a woman's private parts, or this is a man's private parts. They will not even think like that, as unfortunately we kind of would think like that if it was in this dunya, in this day and age, or in this world. We'll be thinking like that in that immoral way, but in the hereafter no one will be thinking like that. Now the next part of the hadith goes on to say, "Kama bada'na awwala khalqin nu'idu wa'dan alayna inna kunna fa'ilin," which is also a Quranic verse, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that we will resurrect people the same way we gave birth to them in this dunya. In other words, when a child comes out of his mother's womb, he is uncircumcised, he is naked, and he is barefooted. So exactly in the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect people on the mahshar, so that they could be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with these three attributes. Uncircumcised, bekhatna. Number 2, he will be nanga, he will be naked. And number 3, he will be nanga pair, i.e. he will not have any sandals, or he will not be wearing any shoes when he comes to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the hadith, or the words of the Quranic verse, then goes on to say, wa'adan alayna, this is a promise from us. I.e. in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the mushrikeens and those who did not believe in life after death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them countless of places in the Quran that, look, beware, I'll resurrect you. There will be a time when you will be questioned for your deed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to them, wa'adan alayna. Remember that promise I said? And you thought, oh, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was just joking. He wasn't serious that there will be resurrection. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, oh, you guys remember that time? Wa'adan alayna. This was a promise, and now you're seeing the promise and what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to you with your own eyes. Inna kunna fa'ilin, and indeed we will do this. Then the next part of the hadith again talks about hashar again, that what would happen. This is obviously before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously will start the judgment and the mizan, and these kind of things will be brought. So the next part of the hadith then goes on to say, wa awwalu may yuksa yawm al-qiyamah Ibrahim alayhi salam, that the first person to be clothed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. He will be the first person to be clothed by Allah in the hereafter, i.e. on that mahshar. And thereafterwards it will be Aap sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Sahabas, the Khulafai Rashideen, wagara zalik, all the way down. Now some may look at this particular hadith and say, well, shouldn't it be the first person to be clothed be Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because as all of us, all the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe that the greatest creation of Allah is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then second in terms of nubuwwat and prophethood is Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. So why do we have in this hadith here that no, it will be Ibrahim alayhi salam first and then Aap sallallahu alaihi wasallam second? Now what we can gather from this hadith here is, this is what we call a partial fazilat, a juz'i fazilat of, say, Ibrahim alayhi salam over Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if you're looking at it as a whole, kulli taur par, then Aap sallallahu alaihi wasallam is better than Ibrahim alayhi salam. It's like, say for example, there may be like two scholars, two alims. Now one alim as a whole may be more knowledgeable than the other, but there may be one subject which this alim here may know better than this alim here or this scholar here. To say a topic about Hajj, so this person, alim, he knows Hajj rulings more better than this alim here. But if you look at it in terms of other things, other topics of Islam, Quran, Hadith, Tafsir, this alim knows more than him. So exactly here as well, this comparison between Aap sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, this is like a partial fazilat which Ibrahim alayhi salam has over Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if you look at it as a whole, kulli taur par, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the other fazilat which he had, the other characteristics which he has, the attributes which he has, Jawamil Kalim, the eloquence of the speech, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is more better than Ibrahim alayhi salam. And scholars have mentioned that why Ibrahim will be given the very first clothing. Why couldn't it be, say, Ismail alayhi salam? Why couldn't it be Nuh alayhi salam? So the reason why Ibrahim alayhi salam would be given the very first clothing is because he in this dunya, in this world, sacrificed his clothing for the sake of Allah. So as a reward, as a badla, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter will give him, or will wear him or shroud him, or will be the first person to give Ibrahim alayhi salam some clothing. And what I'm referring to, what incident I'm referring to, is that incident which I'm sure many of you have heard, which is in the Holy Quran, when Ibrahim alayhi salam broke all the idols, and then the people of his area found out that no, it was Ibrahim alayhi salam who broke the idols. So they ordered that let's make a big massive bonfire for Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it's mentioned in the books of Tafsir that this for like 40 days the people, they gathered all the woods of that area, and they got all the woods and stick together, and then they lit the fire. The fire was like lit for 7 days. They let it burn for 7 days so that it's proper like hot and garam. And then they catapulted Ibrahim alayhi salam into the fire. Now before they catapulted him into the fire, they took off his clothes, and in a naked state he was then thrown into the fire. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then ordered the fire, Qulna ya naru kuni barda wa salaman, that O fire, become cold and cool on Ibrahim alayhi salam. So that fire then automatically became cool, aram, like proper like an air conditioned room. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was aram, so like relaxing in the fire, and the people were seeing him. Okay, why isn't Ibrahim alayhi salam getting burnt? But obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the fire to cool and relax on Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it's mentioned that what happened was that when Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown into the fire, then Jibril alayhi salam came from Jannah with some clothing, and he then gave it to Ibrahim alayhi salam to wear. And I mentioned this when we were looking at the tafsir of Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, that this garment, this kapra from Jannah was then passed on to Ismail alayhi salam, to Yaqub alayhi salam, and then from Yaqub alayhi salam to Yusuf alayhi salam. And Yusuf alayhi salam wore it as a taweez around his neck. And when he was thrown into the well, and then again Jibreel alayhi salam came, they took off the taweez which he had, they took out that cloth, the garment which Ibrahim alayhi salam was made to wear, and then he gave it to Yusuf alayhi salam to wear when he was thrown into that particular well. So this is what we touched on before. But because of that reason, Ibrahim alayhi salam taking off his clothes and then being thrown into the fire. Why? Because of sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him by then giving him, he will be the first one to be clothed in the hereafter. Now the next part of the hadith very quickly then goes on to say, وَإِنَّ نَاسًا مِنْ أَصْحَابِ يُؤْخَذُ بِهِمْ ذَاتَ الشِّمَالِ. Now on the day of Mahshar, on the day of gathering, resurrection, on the day of reckoning, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will see that some people, i.e. the angels, they've gripped or they've taken some people and they are taking them towards hell from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah would see some of the ummatis, they will be gripped, they will be taken by the angels, and they are one by one being ushered towards the hellfire. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would see this, and then he will shout out, Usayhabi, Usayhabi, which means they are my companions, they are my ummati, they are from my nation, they are from my ummah. Don't take him to hell, don't take him to the fire of hell, don't take him towards Jahannam. So then the angels would say, إِنَّهُمْ لَن يَزَالُوا مُرْتَدِّينَ عَلَىٰ أَعْقَابِهِمْ مُنْزُ فَارَقْتَهُمْ, which means that they, i.e. the people who we are taking to hell, they became murtads, i.e. they left your religion after you passed away. Munzu faraqtahum, which means that after you left this world, then what happened was that these people, they became murtads, they left the deen of Islam, they left the fold of the religion. And there's many examples of that as soon as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, there was a group, obviously Hazrat Abu Bakr who became the first Khalifa. So there was a group of people who did not want to give zakat. So because they were denying to give zakat, what happened? They then came out of the fold of Islam. So these type of people will be thrown into the fire of hell. And not only that, there were so many other people. After when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, there were two people in particular. One was called Musaylama and the other one was called Aswad the Anasi. And what happened was that they claimed to be the next prophet. After Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, they said, we are the next prophet of Allah. So what happened was that many people who believed in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they left Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they left the way of the Sahabas and the Khulafa Rashidin, and then they started following these two people who claimed to be Nabis and Prophets. So the angel will say to them that, they were your Sahabas, they were your companions, but what happened was that after you passed away, this is what happened. They started following Musaylim al-Kazzab, they started becoming murtad, they started leaving the fold of the religion. Because it did happen, after Rasulullah passed away, there was a large group, not large group, but quite a large number of people did leave the fold of Islam. Because obviously they were, when you look at it, they were proper munafiqs. Because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam they were like, believing, they would come to the masjid. But then as soon as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, they thought, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam not here, who's gonna do anything? There's no wahi coming, no one knows we're a munafiq, and so on. Then they left the fold of the religion, and this is what happened to them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels would say to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that no, these are bad people, we are taking them towards the fire of hell. Then at that point Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, فَأَقُولُوا كَمَا قَالَ الْعَبْدُ الصَّالِحِ, what Sayyiduna Isa alayhi salam said. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say to them, to the angels, what Isa alayhi salam said to his people before he was made to ascend to the heavens. Now what did Isa alayhi salam say? It's in the Holy Quran. He said to his people, وَكُنْتُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا مَا دُمْتُ فِيهِمْ فَلَمَّا تَوَفَّيْتَنِي كُنْتَ أَنْتَ الرَّقِيبَ عَلَيْهِمْ, which in a nutshell means that Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is using those words of Isa alayhi salam to now reply to the angels that when I was alive, وَكُنْتُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا مَا دُمْتُ فِيهِمْ, which means that when I was alive, I was a witness of what they were doing. In other words, I was alive, I had control over the matter, I knew that this person was reliable, religious, وَغَيْرَ ذَلِكَ. But then when I passed away, then you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anta raqib alayhim, you are their zimmedar. In other words, just say there's an Amir, You say Amir of this masjid or Amir of a particular organization. Now when he's there, he knows what's happening, he knows what's the employees doing, he knows that, okay, this person is doing this person is doing that. But when that Amir is not there, or when the boss or the manager is not there, then all the workers start relaxing, or the boss is not there. We could like come in at 9:30, or we could come 20 minutes late. It doesn't matter. No one knows. We could like clock out early. We could leave work early because no one's there to monitor us. So exactly here Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying to the angels that yes, when I was alive, I monitored all of them. They seemed reliable. They seemed muttaqi. They seemed pious, religious, wagera wagera. But obviously when I passed away, then kunta anta raqib alayhim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was zimmedar upon them. Allah knew what they were doing now. Obviously Allah knew that there was nifaq in their hearts. So now when they passed away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now punishing them through the hellfire. Exactly same which Isa alayhi salam said to his people, that when I was alive, I thought these disciples were all good people, his hawariyin, the helpers, the disciples. He thought everyone was to be good. But obviously when he was ascended, or when obviously his ruh and his soul was then taken upwards, and also Isa alayhi salam ascended upwards, then obviously Isa alayhi salam, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then knew that okay, this disciple was the one who told the Jews that Isa alayhi salam was there. These disciples then became astray and so on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that. So this is the exact same answer which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will give to the angels on that particular day. Inshallah, we'll leave it there for this week. May Allah give us the ability to act on it. Instead of wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.